Hey guys, Quigon Quasar here, back again with another Mass Effect Andromeda video, and in this video I'm going to be talking about some really bad news that recently hit about Mass Effect Andromeda, about the Mass Effect series in general, and it's basically bad news for anyone who's a fan of either of those, of the Mass Effect series or Mass Effect Andromeda itself. Now basically, following the middling and kind of disappointing and negative feedback and reviews of Mass Effect Andromeda, I'll get into how that's really stupid and unwarranted in a little while, but following those, those terrible, awful reviews that it has received, BioWare Montreal, which is like the main game development studio that developed Mass Effect Andromeda, has been downsized, meaning a lot of people have been fired. It has been downsized incredibly, and the whole company has been sort of scaled down. Future Mass Effect games have been put on hold, which is absolutely crazy, like so saddening that, this huge, amazing, one of the best, in my opinion, the greatest video game series of all time, and maybe even series of all time, like story of all time, has been put on hold because of a few bad reviews. There is, currently no plans for future Mass Effect games, and unless EA or, any publisher like EA decides to, take it back up and decides that there's a lot of money in it still, which there is, but unless one of those guys decides that there is a lot of money still in the whole Mass Effect series, then they are not going to be doing, they are not going to be planning any Mass Effect game anytime soon, like any future one anytime soon. And that company, the BioWare Montreal, that studio is instead going to be used as a support studio for other EA projects like Star Wars Battlefront 2, which I hate. I absolutely hate. I think it's so annoying. The remaining members of staff will reportedly continue to work on patches and multiplayer DLC updates. I'll leave a link. I'm basically reading off of a news article. I'll leave a link and so I'll give credit to that link. Or to that page in the description if you want to, see the full sort of lowdown on everything. Then go check that out. It'll be in the description. But basically, I do not believe Mass Effect Andromeda deserves, the negative reviews it received. And, it received such bad reviews, it would make you think like it's the worst game of all time. It would make you think that it's freaking Super Meat Boy or something. That sort of level. It honestly, like, there's games out there, like, personally, I hate Minecraft. I can't believe how Minecraft can receive, like, an overwhelmingly positive review. But then a game like Mass Effect Andromeda receives, like freaking 4 out of 10 and 5 out of 10. It seems ludicrous, it seems insane, and it seems like the Donald Trumps of the world have invaded the gaming industry, and all of that, all of the Donald Trump logic has sort of infected the gaming industry, and people have just lost, all sense and all intelligence in terms of what's good and what isn't. I honestly don't know. It seems like with the negative reviews and negative feedback, mostly from critics, by the way, not completely from the actual players, the people whose actual opinion counts. It's the critics who think their opinion counts, and it doesn't actually count at all. It's like a 1% of the gamers who actually, like write for articles and are, some of them are YouTubers. Their opinion doesn't actually, change the way the game sells. It's really just, one guy's opinion. But they have control of the reviews, I guess, and it's the reason they have sort of, in my opinion, given such bad reviews of the game and of Mass Effect Andromeda is it's so stupid. Like it's over tiny little things like how realistic the eyes look, and the thing is, it's like people are acting very entitled, like their attitude, their sort of perspective on the game and on Mass Effect Andromeda is very sort of entitled and honestly just spoiled. It's like because the other Mass Effect games are really good and because there's a lot of really decent looking and decent playing games out there right now, people think it's sort of, justifies giving a game overwhelmingly negative feedback when it just doesn't deserve it. It's very annoying. Very few games have completely perfect releases. For example, another EA game is Battlefield 1. The servers of Battlefield 1 were absolute trash when it came out. They really were. For anyone that, has played it from day one, they were really bad, but everyone, I believe that, that's kind of universally regarded as a very good game. And it is. Battlefield 1 is awesome in my opinion. It really is. It's another one of EA's awesome games, and it's one of the best first-person shooters of all time in my opinion. But no one sort of brands the game crap or, trash, whatever word you want to use. No one's talking about that game like in a bad way, simply because it had a rough launch. Very few games have perfect releases and perfect launches. A lot of them, especially nowadays, especially in recent years, over the course of the Xbox One and PS4's lifetime, a lot of games have had rugged and rough launches, but I do not believe that, you know, should paint a picture of how they're reviewed, especially considering BioWare has fixed all of the issues or is working hard to fix all of the issues of the game and of Andromeda's launch much faster than anyone else seems to, you know, be able to do. This is BioWare have really worked very hard and very well at, you know, eliminating a lot of the problems of Mass Effect Andromeda and fixing a lot of the problems. I cannot imagine another development studio or game development studio out there that could do so well and do so much in so little time that BioWare has. Even the Witcher 3 developer, CD Projekt Red, they're really good and very good for player feedback and everything. But I don't think even they would be able to, you know, fix as many problems or, you know, tweak the game as much as quickly and listen to the player feedback quite as much. I'm not dissing CD Projekt Red. I'm just saying BioWare has done a very good job of listening to it. And a lot of the problems are fixed now. I just don't get why it's received such, you know, negative and bad reviews. Like I said, Battlefield 1, widely regarded as an awesome game, but that had a very rough launch. Like Mass Effect Andromeda did, Mass Effect Andromeda had very bad servers for a long time. Still has kind of dodgy servers, but nowhere near as bad. But I don't think it's fair that this game's considered trash or being given bad reviews just because it had bad servers and unrealistic looking eyes. Like the eyes look slightly too insane, and the eyes look like you pulled them out of a mad person and put them into the NPCs. Fair enough that, you know, the eyes could have looked more realistic, but they've patched that now, and that's really not what you should be focusing on when you review a game. I don't know what is up with the critics and, you know, these people who think that they know how to review games, saying that the game is bad simply because it has slightly bad facial animations. Like, where'd you get off on believing that that's a way to review a game? It's about the story and the gameplay and how the game makes you feel, in my opinion. So yeah, I just don't think Andromeda deserves the negative reviews. I also hate that BioWare Montreal has has been focused on Star Wars Battlefront 2. Mass Effect belongs to BioWare. If they're not going to let BioWare work on their own sort of creations or on, you know, if not Mass Effect, you know, if they're not going to let BioWare work on another independent project or another game, maybe even Dragon Age, then they should, you know, just don't hire them, EA. In my opinion, I don't think EA should be hiring them or sort of have them on their payroll. If they're going to make them work on someone else's creation, like Star Wars Battlefront 2, for anyone that doesn't know, Star Wars Battlefront and Star Wars Battlefront 2 is a DICE creation. It's made by the people that make Battlefield 1, Battlefield 4, Battlefield Hardline. BioWare isn't like a support studio. It really isn't, in my opinion. They're one of the greatest development teams out there. They make some of the best games. Mass Effect are, in my opinion, the best video games of all time. I do not think it's fair to make, you know, sort of put them on the back pedal and make them, quote, a support studio and support the work done on, you know, Star Wars Battlefront 2. Fair enough, it's going to improve Star Wars Battlefront 2 because, like I said, BioWare is one of the greatest development teams out there easily, so it is going to improve Battlefront 2 having their, you know, their input on the game, but they shouldn't be backpedaled and made to be sort of like a butler to DICE and made, you know, sort of, like I said, support studio. That's really annoying to me. And I find it really unjust and just, it's not fair. It really isn't. It also sucks that BioWare Montreal, basically, in terms of downsides, what do you mean by downsides is people have been fired, people have lost their job. These hard-working individuals that bring us really awesome games like Dragon Age and Mass Effect. And a lot of them have been with the company for a long time. A lot of those people that have been working with the company for a long time, they've been kicked out of the job. They've been, like, kicked out. What they mean by downsides is some guys have gone up and said, all right, job's over, you're fired. It's not that they sort of put it in a nice way and make it sound like they've gone in, high-fived them and given them a check for $1 million. They haven't. They've kicked them out of the job that they've been working for at least quite a few months. You know, no one came into Mass Effect Andromeda's development a month before it was finished. They've been at least, you know, with the company and worked for the company for at least, you know, several months. So it's really crappy that they've just been kicked out of it simply because some gamers and some idiot critics can't get over the fact that the eyes don't always look as realistic as, you know, real life. They're not always going to look true to life, and they can't sort of comprehend that maybe not every game development team out there sort of, you know, simply focuses on, oh, can we make the eyes look true to life? You know, maybe they focus on other things like gameplay and story and, you know, script and character development and characters in general. Maybe they focus on the important things. It really annoys me that people have lost their jobs over tiny things because, you know, when Mass Effect Andromeda launched, the things that were getting broadcast, like the things that people were complaining about on forums and in the comments of Mass Effect Andromeda videos, even in some of my videos, they were complaining about the graphics, about the facial animations not looking accurate or realistic, and the eyes not looking accurate and realistic. They weren't complaining about anything to do with the gameplay. They weren't complaining about anything to do with the story. It was about the facial animation and how much it syncs up with what the people are saying, and that just makes me crazy. That annoys me so much. People should not be fired just because some gamers are too entitled and spoilt to get their head around the fact that maybe development teams don't care that much about how realistic eyes look. And if you can see every single little detail on somebody's eyeball, it seems really goddamn stupid. Many people think that by giving negative criticism about a game, about really any game, that it's going to, improve the game in the long run. That by complaining about a game enough, if you complain about a part of a game enough, then it's going to improve it. That the developers are going to have no choice but to listen to you and listen to your complaints. Now, to an extent, that is true. But when there is overwhelmingly negative, feedback and reviews about a game, there's no benefits to that. It's going to crush a game. It's like with, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, for example. I don't like that game. A lot of people don't like that game. I'm not going to comment on it right now, but, that had a lot of overwhelmingly bad feedback when that first launched, and I believe that was warranted. I don't think it's a very good game. I believe that unlike Mass Effect Andromeda, I think that the bad reviews were deserved. It's not, in my opinion, a good game. I'm trying not to anger anyone right now, but the thing is, that was crushed. Like a lot of the fan base left, and a lot of the the focus on that game was taken away and focused on Modern Warfare Remastered instead, because the overall sense and the overall sort of feedback towards that game was negative, and that was crushed. They lost loads of money, and they will not be doing a game they will not be making a game like Call of Duty Infinite Warfare ever again. I highly doubt Activision is going anywhere near a modern day, a futuristic Call of Duty ever again. Now, the same is going to happen with Mass Effect if we're not careful, if we as a community do not stop it, because the thing is, if enough people complain about Mass Effect, BioWare will do their absolute hardest and their absolute best to fix it and make people actually enjoy the game, or be happy with the current state of the game, and they have done that. They've been working so hard. They've released like 3 updates already and fixed so much stuff, and at the same time they've released new content, new characters, new maps, new multiplayer missions. They've even freaking upped the graphics in the campaign, improved the graphics and facial animation. They've some of the cutscenes and stuff. They've improved so much in such a short space of time, all at the same time. They multitask so much. But even BioWare, they're not miracle workers in the sense that they can't magically change the game to suit these spoiled critiques, perspectives, or wants or supposed needs of the game. If enough people complain about the game, it's going to get broken. It's going to die. It's going to get left in the dust, and that's not because it's a bad game. That's not because BioWare is a bad development company. It's just because EA, the publishers who own BioWare, and publishers in general, if they're not making money, if they don't think they're going to make money, they are a company at the end of the day. If they're not going to make money off of a game, or if they think that they're not going to make it as much money as they think or as they'd like, they're not going to carry on making that game. They're not going to carry on providing content for that game, or making future games for that. That's why that Call of Duty, Activision, they're never going near a futuristic Call of Duty again. That's why after Halo 4, for anyone that knows about Halo, after Halo 4, they completely switched up Halo in the hopes that it would have a better response, that it would have a better fan response and better fan feedback than Halo 4 did. And that will happen with Mass Effect Andromeda. But the thing is, it seems like they've gone a different way with Mass Effect Andromeda, where instead of, alright, we'll change it up next time, because each Mass Effect game takes, half a decade to make. They're really lengthy and meaty games. They're not like, well, we'll just pump one out every year like they do with Call of Duty. They're really meaty games. They can't just, wait half a decade, and they can't say to the fans, alright, well, next decade we'll have a game that's completely different and that you'll like. It doesn't work. That only really works with yearly releases, or games that come out, every couple of years. But Mass Effect games come out every 5 or 6 years, generally speaking, because they're such big and meaty and chunky games. So if there's enough negative feedback about Mass Effect Andromeda, there simply won't be any more. Any more additions to the Mass Effect series. Certainly not by way of games. Maybe comics, maybe anime or cartoons, but no games. And I just don't think that's good. I don't think that's a very good thing. I think we as fans or as a Mass Effect community should be working against that and trying to fix that and treating. But honestly, I think BioWare should be treated with more respect, at least from the critics that are sort of destroying Mass Effect Andromeda. And another thing that's sort of been affected by all of this hate towards Mass Effect Andromeda is the fact that there's probably not going to be any significant or expansive DLC. Now, I said in another video, I did a video where I covered what I think would be an amazing idea for a DLC for Mass Effect Andromeda. It was a standalone DLC about the First Contact War. Go check that video out if you are interested in that. I thought that would be such an awesome way of sort of expanding on another Mass Effect story, but within Mass Effect Andromeda, and it being, you know, like a 1 or 2 hour DLC that had its own story, didn't rely on Mass Effect Andromeda at all. I thought that would be a very good idea. But the thing is, a DLC like that is completely off the charts. They're not going to build a big standalone or even significant DLC at all. They might not even go anywhere near a story DLC like a single player DLC, which is the one that, you know, people, Mass Effect players generally want the single player DLCs more than the map packs, which is certainly what I want. That is completely off the table. That's completely off the charts. That is not going to happen if the demand for that isn't there. If Mass Effect Andromeda, you know, receives enough hate, receives enough negative feedback, they are not going to bother making DLC like that. It's just it's a sad fact. It's just a sad reality. People seem to care what the critics say and what, you know, I'm not going to name any names, but what some websites say that really don't know what they're saying or don't know what they're talking about, in my opinion. If enough people believe that and go with their opinions, then there is not going to be any DLC made, and there is really not going to be any more renditions of Mass Effect or Mass Effect Andromeda or Mass Effect in general. Hopefully people will realize that they have potentially ended the Mass Effect series simply because they were too judgmental of Andromeda. And, you know, some of these critics and morons, in my opinion, could not accept the changes made since Mass Effect 3 because essentially they were spoiled. They were used to getting on their way with whatever game. It's happening a lot. It's really a massive shame that people are, you know, just dismissing games nowadays because they don't run at 1080p or 60 frames per second, or in this case, they don't have 4K resolutions for the eyes, and the eyes aren't completely mapped to look, you know, perfect and look like real life eyes. It's really stupid. It really is. Just think about it for a second how stupid it is that people have dismissed Mass Effect Andromeda and games like Mass Effect Andromeda over tiny things like that. Fair enough if the content isn't there, if the gameplay isn't good enough, if the story isn't good enough, if the story is crap. Fair enough, but it is certainly not the case with Mass Effect Andromeda. Gameplay, story, everything, it's awesome. It really is with this game, and I don't think anyone would really disagree at all. Now, we as a community can make this right, though. The way we can sort of come together and fix this is just to support Andromeda in any way you can. Play it, watch it on YouTube, watch it on Twitch. Purchase the DLC, purchase any, you know, in-game items that you want, maybe like the pre-order bonuses. I believe you can buy them off the Xbox store and the PlayStation store. If you want those, I'm not saying buy them if you're not going to put them to use, but if you want them, if you've been wanting them for a while, definitely buy them. The more demand for Mass Effect content there is, the higher the chance of more Mass Effect content being made. Because at the end of the day, EA is a publisher. Publishers are companies, and companies don't really care about making money. If they're not going to make money, they're going to change the tactics and they're going to do something different. So all the Mass Effect fans out there, if you want to see more Mass Effect, if you want to see more Mass Effect Andromeda, if you want to see some significant DLCs like the Citadel DLC from Mass Effect 3, or the Omega DLC from Mass Effect 3, or the Shadow Lair of the Shadow Broker DLC, that was such an awesome DLC from Mass Effect 2. If you want to see stuff like that, if you want to see expansion content to that level, to that degree, DLC that is deserving of a Mass Effect game, if you want to see that, then you need to help create more demand for Mass Effect, and we need to come together as a community and save Mass Effect, because this is not a clickbait video. This is not, oh, Mass Effect is dead, or Mass Effect Andromeda is dead. It could very well be ended. It could be, they could just cut it off. Like I said, they're just a company. If it's, you know, if you had a worker in a company and he wasn't working or she wasn't working or doing the job they're paid to do, then they would just get fired. It's simple as that. It's a company. It's cold. It's crappy that they do that, but it's exactly what happens. It happened to the Fable developers, the guys that, you know, made the Fable games, and they were making Fable Legends. It happened to them. They got fired by Microsoft and just, you know, downsized, so to speak. But they got fired. It will happen with Mass Effect. It will happen with BioWare, unless someone does something about it. Now, the Mass Effect community is an awesome community, and, you know, the little community that I've got on here on my channel is an equally awesome community. I think if we all came together, created enough demand for Mass Effect Andromeda, then it's not going anywhere. If enough people want it, then it is not going anywhere. At the end of the day, it's not the critics say that matters. It's not the critics' opinion that matters. It's the gamer's opinion. The critics and the people that, you know, post nonsense on the forums, or post nonsense on, you know, like news websites or whatever, or articles on news websites, or so-called news websites. They do not sell the copies of Mass Effect Andromeda. They do not make the sales of Mass Effect Andromeda. It's the gamers, it's the actual players. So that is the one that EA cares the most about. So we, like I said, as a community, need to come together and create enough demand for Mass Effect Andromeda. Anyway, that's going to put an end to this rant. I hope you guys enjoyed or find it entertaining. If you do agree with me, please do leave a like. It would really help me out. If you want to see any more of my videos, definitely stick around and subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.